Israeli lobby, or more accurately, the Jewish lobby in the United States, is probably the strongest lobby in the land. The Israelis are definitely celebrating their occupation in Palestine. They are a pretty sinister occupier, and the state of Palestinians is a proof of that situation. However, far more concerning for me is again the domineering power of Jewish lobbies in America, in Britain, in France, in Germany. To start with, I think that Jewish history is a very problematic narrative, a lot of suffering, and a lot of it happened as a reaction to Jewish domineering forces within banking and so on and so on. I would expect Jews to be slightly more sophisticated about their present and to be shy of power, or at least to pretend to be shy. Now, one of the most interesting thing is that a lot of people talk about Jewish conspiracies, and I actually argue that there are no Jewish conspiracies. Jews are bragging about their power in America, in banking, in Hollywood, in media, in lobbying. They're bragging about it. They're not quiet about it. They do everything in the open. The method that they are using is slightly different. And I define Jewish power as the power to suppress opposition to Jewish power. And this is not necessarily a Zionist power. I actually argue that the people who sustain this silencing mechanism are actually operating within the Jewish progressives and the Jewish left. When Mearsheimer and Walt came with their incredible text in 2006 on the Israeli lobby, it was Chomsky who was the first to dismiss them or their scholarship. The same happened to James Petras, another incredible American academic, who came with very similar study of Jewish lobby, and again he was dismissed academically. I think that this is the meaning of Jewish power. Everything is done in the open. There are no conspiracies, but the method is silencing opposition. We cannot really talk about it. At the moment, it seems as if a lot of the power over policies in the United States are in the hands of a guy called Jared Kushner, who is the closest person, as we are aware, to President Trump, and is definitely not an impartial character. Is an ultra-Zionist Jew who is involved with funding of West Bank settlements, his family, and so on and so on. And I think that it is a very good thing, if you allow me to say it. And why is it a very good thing? Because in the last 4 decades, America presented itself as a negotiator, as a mediator within this peace process, and we obviously didn't achieve a thing. It moved nowhere. It didn't progress, and it didn't progress because America wasn't a true mediator. Now it has become clear that America is not a negotiator, it's not a mediator, President Abbas made it very clear that he is not interested to meet Pence, the Secretary of State, when it comes to the region. America lost its primacy in the region, and I think that we should be very pleased with Trump being the catalyst of this change. So. This sectarian war is already in place, and it even threatens your country, as we know. Some people who like to look into it can search for the Inon plan from 1982. Inon made a very clear strategy how to move forwards toward that sectarian conflict. What Inon understood in '82 is that time runs against Israel because of issues to do with water, in shortage of water in the conflict, the radicalization within Islam. Inon understood that unless we break the Arabs, the Muslims, into endless list of sectarian conflicts, Israel's future is doomed. Now, whether Israel is operating now according to Inon plan or not is an open question, but if we are allowed to look at the Inon plan as a prophecy, it definitely materialized. I think that Trump is a very, very interesting character. And as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, I think that we should see Trump as a very, very interesting catalyst in this conflict. To start with, he has managed in pretty much 1 year, which is not a long time, to marginalize the impact of America in the region, which is in itself very, very interesting. America is not considered a superpower, is not considered a mediator or negotiator in this crucial conflict. And if Trump's agenda is to make America great again, it seems as if his way to do it is first to make America very small. Isolated, operating alone, looking inward rather than outwards. I'm not so sure that there is a great planning behind it, but these are the facts on the ground. I'm not an expert on Christian evangelist, but it is clear beyond any doubt that Trump's decision to do what he did had something to do with, again, Jared Kushner. Now, I can extend here a bit, if you don't mind. For around 8 or even 12 months, we hear about this emerging Russiagate, this story about Russia, about Putin interfering with the election, and soon after Trump entered the White House, we saw this resignation of Flynn and so on and so on, and then something took us by surprise. Flynn agreed to cooperate with his investigators, and we realized that instead of a Russia gate, what we have is a Flynn Kush Tel Aviv gate. Flynn Kushner Tel Aviv gate. We realized that Flynn actually went to talk to the Russian ambassador in an attempt to persuade Russia to help Israel in the United Nations, in the Security Council, just few days before Trump entered the White House. This was a fascinating story. This is probably the collapse of the Russian gate, and what we have instead is a clear collaboration between Flynn, Kushner, Israel, persuading another superpower